Warning! This video contains rumors, speculation, strong opinions, and a Mad Max. And I'm mad because Scott Mendelson even admits it's a bomb. But should Kathleen Kennedy be fired? Not if she was Kevin. Yep, that's where we're going on this one because that's the Forbes article that just came out. Scott admits it's a bomb, goes through a whole article, but then can't the last word about Kathy. And I'm calling for Kathleen Kennedy to be fired because equal opportunity means when you fail, you should get the equal equivalent of failure. And that means fired. It's not because she's a woman that we're asking for her to be fired. It's because of her politics that she forces into everything that she's lasted this long. It's not right, and this is unprecedented levels of failure. And Scott's article, which we're going to get into in a second, makes you seem like, oh, it's okay, Star Wars will survive, every franchise has a little one-off. No, the drop between 1.3 billion worldwide to cannot even make $500 million is an unprecedented drop. Nothing has dropped that far, that hard, and that needs to be discussed, and for that, she absolutely should be fired. No discussion. And this guy, let's just get into the article. And the article is called, the title of the article, Box Office, Solo, a Star Wars Story Bombs with 148 million global weekend, on a Forbes article. And this is how much spin and Kool-Aid Disney throws at the public. 170 domestic? Ha! They can't even, they're struggling to get that globally. Do you see the Disney difference now? The Last Jedi is a monumental moment in movie history because Disney and the critics got caught. And now they're caught again because they got caught once, but they were confident enough because of that 1.3 billion with The Last Jedi that they can overhype Solo 2. But guess what? You can't. The public knows now what you do. The Disney difference. Scott Mendelson has an article up right now, and I could not wait to see one of these pro-Disney websites and writers writing an article discussing the bomb. And he went straight ahead for it, but he didn't leave out the shilling at the end. It has to be a bomb. Okay, so here's some quick comments. I skipped over most of the article because he just talks about numbers, comparing it to other movies. And for me to read that to you is boring, but I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out yourself. But here's some bullet points of his article. Even if it recovers tomorrow, we're looking at a sub 200 million global launch and no guarantee of post-debut legs. And then here's another point. But going from 1 billion plus grossers to an installment that may struggle to hit 600 million is a horrible look. Yes, it is! And whoever is responsible for that should be gone. Regardless if you're Kathy or Kevin, whoever. If there was a sports team that had a coach that went to a Super Bowl winning team to the next year, they can't even make the playoffs, what would they do? Exactly. They would be fired. And the fans in that city would be calling for it. And there's no difference here, and stop acting like there is. The difference is she is Kathleen Kennedy, and she's skated along too long with all the failures that she's done at Lucasfilm. It's not like we're calling for her firing as soon as The Force Awakens gets announced. No, she's had many chances, far too many. And this is just proof of how damaging she is to Star Wars. But this is where, at the end of the article, he has to have every last shilling word. So let's call it on the calls that Disney has ruined Star Wars. They don't produce the movies. That's Lucasfilm's responsibility. And doubtly, so on the cries for Kathleen Kennedy to be fired. And then he says, methinks the cries wouldn't be so loud if Kathleen's first name was Kevin. If Kathy was a woman and her name was Kevin, yes, that would be even more so. But regardless, yes, across the board, whoever you are, Kathleen, Kevin, if you're making these decisions, you should be fired. Here's the good news. Lucasfilm has shown itself, for better or for worse, as a company willing to vastly overspend. Unbelievable. He's trying to explain that they're doing it for the quality of the movie. No, they were trying to fix a bomb and it didn't work. They're trying to put duct tape and plastic and try to still push it out to make a deadline, and it didn't work. Not because they're willing to overspend for the quality of Star Wars. That is ridiculous to say, oh, they overspent because they care about the movie. No, they overspent because they thought they could fix it and still push it out and people would still line up day one. That's why. A company willing to vastly overspend. Even on what was supposed to be a glorified one-off. Now he's distancing itself from Star Wars. You see all the stuff he's doing in this article? He's distancing. Oh, it's just a side story. Don't worry. Episode 9 will be great. This is the direction his articles are going to be going, guarantee it. To deliver what they think is the best possible movie. If they wanted to deliver the best possible movie when there was problems, they should have delayed it to get it right. Not try to make a deadline. I may take issue with that in some of the circumstances, King Arthur, Justice League, etc. But over the long haul, it is a worthy investment to make sure that none of these new Star Wars movies are aggressively bad. It is aggressively bad. It's bombing across the world. People are not falling for this anymore. Oh my goodness. Also, in the realm of good news, the new batch of Star Wars movies had presumably its first real flop via the least artistically justifiable, most explicitly cynical, and most comparatively generic offering yet. This is not unlike Pixar taking its first hit with the comparatively conventional The Good Dinosaur. Oh my goodness. Comparing Star Wars to Pixar. Good Dinosaur. You really think The Good Dinosaur is equivalent to Han Solo as a character? Absolutely not. All they had to deliver was a decent movie with a real actor that can act and portray a confident scoundrel, and it would have been making $1 billion. They couldn't do it. They couldn't deliver, and then they got it wrong, and then they tried to make a deadline instead of fixing it. And to say it's the equivalent of Pixar with The Good Dinosaur, no, it's not. You have a Pixar franchise that's consistently delivered. It'd be like Toy Story 4 coming out and bombing. That's what Han Solo is to Star Wars. Han Solo is one of the most important characters in Star Wars, and it's even a bomb. That is the writing on the wall. Or Marvel's only real flop being the artistically constrained and relatively weak The Incredible Hulk. That was at the beginning. And Marvel has been getting steadily bigger every time. And The Incredible Hulk wasn't a flop either. It did decent enough for its time. It just wasn't... Iron Man hit it out of the park. That was the difference. So, Solo is a decent enough movie. And that's not good enough. Decent enough. And so is the visually gorgeous The Good Dinosaur. But over the long run, it is better for a company to take their hits when they play it safe versus when they color outside the lines with so-called conventional wisdom. In anything, the core flaw of Solo was that it was a conventional, generic blockbuster, complete with Alden Ehrenreich's generic white dude leading me. Emilia Clarke as his feisty love interest, and Donald Glover as his cool, hip, black sidekick that was only an event movie for folks who felt that anything the word Star Wars qualified it as an event. It should qualify it as an event. Every Star Wars movie should be making $1 billion. I'm not saying $2 billion, $1 billion. Especially with the most famous characters. And that's, in a nutshell, is why the Star Wars story is something of a bomb, why it opened so far below its initial tracking, and why the franchise overall will probably be okay. It's not okay. They have to make some serious changes, and there's a big dry spell before episode 9. There is a lot of time for people to forget and get over Star Wars. And that's we're in an unprecedented situation because Disney cannot stop making Star Wars movies. They have to. They have parks coming out, park attractions. They have merchandise in the Disney store. They have it everywhere. They have partnerships with toy companies, and they have a streaming service that they have to try to sell you on that you can't live without this TV series. And Star Wars is in the gutter right now. This is the biggest drop. DCEU is not even this bad. Seriously. Justice League didn't do this bad. I lost my place. Okay, I'm skipping a little bit. Kathy is still there because her name is Kathleen and not Kevin. If she was Kevin, she would have been replaced already. But she royally panned up, so even that is not going to save her. And for you to try and show hard and say that a bomb is okay and that Star Wars is okay is ridiculous. The drop-off for a movie franchise to over $1 billion to struggle to get half of that for the next in the franchise is unprecedented levels of bombing. And needs to be discussed, and changes need to be made. And way worse than the DC movie universe. And I am calling for her to be fired because she has skated too long on being Kathleen Kennedy. She cares about SJW issues. It's proven now. Whatever. The problem with her, she doesn't care equally about Star Wars. Or at all. She doesn't care about Star Wars at all. Only the name and the position that it's gotten her. It's absolutely apparent. It's not so difficult. Hire someone that cares about the property. Boom! Magic happens. Kevin Feige cares. Every movie universe is failing because it's loaded with Hollywood elite who cares about themselves and have clique employees that are more worried about decorating their offices and sipping soy lattes than having a plan and writing a good story. And I am sick of the notion that you can't listen to fans to make something good. And you have to have your own story to tell. These movies have to... That's true, but it also has to be a collaboration. These movies should be a collaboration with fans, great storytellers, and not directors that are so involved with themselves and what they want. They have to have an agenda for the property, for the quality of the characters, the film, and the fans. And in case Kathleen Kennedy's agendas come first to everything else. I'm not saying it's impossible not to have personal agendas, but it has to be Star Wars first. And then ease in the other agendas with quality storytelling, quality characters. And she has none of that. So that's what I wanted to talk about on this hot topic. You don't have to follow me anywhere. I just want you to join in the conversation. Talk about movies. Talk about Star Wars. Have a great one, guys.